a few things about funding for providers, whether it be colleges or independent training providers. I think three things really that I'm looking at, and in terms of the AoC conference, looking for some certainty. The first is what's going to happen to 16 to 19 funding next year, in terms of the EFA allocation, and how secure we are in terms of those levels of funding, which are critical for us that are offering 16 to 19 programs, particularly in terms of things like study programs, so to make sure that that current level of funding is enough to finance not only the core learning, but English, maths, and of course increasingly the importance of work experience and tutorial and personal development behaviour and welfare. So that's the first funding flow I think that all providers are looking for some certainty on and some security on. I think the second major area clearly is apprenticeships, and I think a big flavour of what's been going on in the last few months, and certainly at the AoC conference this week, is how secure and what's the future for apprenticeship funding, both from levy-paying employers and non-levy paying employers. And clearly providers are going through the process of applying to be on the register of training providers, of apprenticeship training providers, and also in terms of the procurement for non-levy paying employers and the work that we want to do with them. So again, from the point of view of funding flows, we're trying to predict what we're going to earn from that. There's a lot of uncertainty about whether levy-paying employers will actually engage in contract training. What we're trying to do also is make sure that we at least sustain current levels of engagement with employers, particularly non-levy paying employers. So that's the second major area where I think there's some issues about uncertainty, and clearly that's difficult, particularly if you're a college governor or the chief executive or board of directors of a training providers, to make sure that we're looking at the next 2 to 3 years to see that those funding flows are secure. A third area really is what's happening with adult funding and with the adult education budget, and also what's happening with advanced learner loans. So a little bit more certainty in how that might happen in terms of the national priorities, but another dimension that of course is affecting providers is, particularly with the adult education budget, is how local devolution deals are going to affect that from 2018-19, and how local commissioning might work. And in terms of adult funding, I think the ability of providers to use up the advanced learner loans facility, I think that's a big challenge. That facility up to now has not been well used by all providers. Some have done better than others, but I think from the point of view of us being a provider, we're very keen to make sure we do maximise advanced learner loan funding, and that means changing the way we deliver, changing the way we respond to learners, and changing the provision. So I think those three major areas of funding, it's a good to keep an eye on them. So 16 to 19 funding, apprenticeship funding, and the future funding of adults.